The autopsy confirmed an alcohol-related accident, but the map of 12 cities tells a very different story. Before you decide what this story is about, stay with us. Because sometimes the truth does not disappear. It drowns slowly. And when it resurfaces, it does not come back quietly. Bangkok. The lights dim. The arena falls into a silence so complete it feels engineered. On stage, Wang stands before a towering LED structure that begins to flicker like the surface of disturbed water. Then he dives. The screen transforms into a massive glass tank. He is submerged inside it. At first, it looks like art, carefully rehearsed, beautifully controlled. But seconds later, something shifts. His fists begin to pound against the invisible walls. Once, twice, again. The rhythm becomes desperate. His knuckles strike harder. The water clouds, a thin bloom of red, unfurls around his hands. The illusion of performance fractures into something far more unsettling. From the audience, it is spectacle. From the internet, it becomes metaphor. And from some corners of public discourse, it is interpreted as something else entirely. Because months earlier, in September 2025, Yu Mang Long was declared dead in what authorities officially ruled an alcohol-related accident. The case was closed. No foul play was reported. No criminal liability established. Yet, on November 1st, 2025, his studio in Shanghai was dissolved. And between those two dates lies a route. 12 cities. A zigzagging pattern that defies conventional commercial logic. Northeast to central. Central to east. Back again. 2 performances in each location. Arrive. Rehearse. Perform. Pack. Department. Repeat. In traditional touring strategy, efficiency preserves stamina and profit. Circular movement minimizes exhaustion. Clusters reduce cost. But this route crossed itself like threads pulled too tight. It did not resemble expansion. It resembled erosion. We must be clear. According to official records, the death was accidental. According to public speculation, the map suggests something else. Not a crime proven in court. Not a conspiracy confirmed, but a question. What does prolonged exhaustion do to a body already under pressure? What does financial instability do to a mind already strained? Reports circulated online alleging an extreme revenue split, 90% to management, 10% to the artist. Additional marketing expenses deducted from that remainder. Unverified rumors claim unpaid wages totaling $25 million US. These figures remain allegations, not judicial findings. Still, the pattern has fueled public outrage. 12 cities, 12 points forming what some netizens described as a binding cycle. In East Asian cosmology, 12 earthly branches symbolize completion, a closed loop. Completion can mean fulfillment, or and when Wang collapsed inside that illuminated tank, fists striking glass that would not break, many viewers saw choreography. Others saw confession, a reenactment of suffocation beneath forces that remain unseen. If the death was accidental, then the story ends there. But if the route was engineered, then the map is not just geography, it is structure. And if the tour was never meant to make money, then what exactly was it designed to take from him? If this story resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel so that our future investigations can continue to illuminate the truths that often remain hidden behind the entertainment industry's brightest lights. Share this video across every platform where voices gather, because collective awareness is the only force capable of demanding accountability. Let us stand together, not in anger, but in clarity and compassion, to ensure that what happened to Yu Mang Long is never repeated. Let us raise our voices so that silence can no longer swallow the struggles of those who give so much of themselves to the world. The water did not look violent at first. On the surface, it shimmered under calculated stage lighting, refracting crimson and cobalt beams across the arena ceiling. The audience in Bangkok had come for spectacle, precision, athletic choreography. What they witnessed instead felt disturbingly intimate. Inside the towering digital tank, Wang did not perform like a man executing choreography. He moved like someone resisting containment. His shoulders strained against invisible pressure. His lungs appeared to fight for space. Each strike of his fist against the glass seemed less rhythmic, more erratic. When red began to bloom in the simulated water, spreading outward in thin, dissolving threads, the crowd reacted with awe. Online, the reaction was different. Clips slowed down, frames analyzed, comments multiplied. Some viewers insisted it was nothing more than immersive stagecraft. Others pointed to timing, context, silence surrounding another name that had not yet faded from public memory: Yu Mang Long. Before his death in September 2025, Yu had been on what appeared to be a career ascent. He had stepped into a lead role in the stage production Parasite, replacing another actor despite the predecessor's reported availability. Industry observers noted the abrupt casting changes, but offered no formal objections. The production moved forward. Then the route began. 12 cities, 2 performances each. Travel intervals so compressed, they left little room for recalibration. According to publicly shared tour schedules, the movement did not follow the expected arc of a revenue-optimized circuit. Instead, it zigzagged across regions, northeast to central, central to east. Back toward We must pause here. Touring irregularity is not proof of wrongdoing. Logistical decisions can be influenced by venue availability, local demand, or contractual obligations. However, what unsettled many observers was not simply distance. It was repetition without rest. Arrive, rehearse, perform, depart before dawn, arrive again, repeat. Sleep fragmentation is not dramatic in isolation. Medical literature indicates that sustained deprivation over weeks, however, elevates cortisol levels, impairs cognitive clarity, and destabilizes mood regulation. When layered over financial strain, the impact compounds. Financial strain was another thread connecting 2 public figures. In a 2025 interview, Jackson Wang acknowledged a period of depression triggered in part by betrayal. He described lending a significant portion of his personal wealth to a trusted associate under the belief that it would resolve a fabricated family crisis. Estimates circulated among fans suggest losses approaching $4,100,000 US, representing roughly 40% of his net assets at the time. The individual allegedly disappeared shortly after receiving the funds. Legal specifics remain unclear. Yu Mang Long experienced a different but comparably destabilizing financial conflict. Reports indicate he lent approximately $275,000 US to a close acquaintance for what was described as a low-risk investment opportunity. The promised returns did not materialize. Disputes followed. Court proceedings were mentioned in online discourse, though comprehensive judicial documentation has not been widely publicized. 2 men, 2 narratives of trust, fractured at the point of money. It would be irresponsible to conflate their circumstances. Yet symbolism rarely respects legal boundaries. When Jackson pounded the illuminated glass in Bangkok, the imagery resonated beyond personal hardship. It echoed the sensation of being sealed inside structures built by others. Control. Revenue splits became a focal point in public discussion surrounding Yu's management contract. Unverified leaks suggested a 90% allocation of performance income to the overseen company, leaving 10% to the artist. Additional promotional costs were allegedly deducted from that remaining portion. These figures have not been validated in court filings accessible to the public. Still, repetition across digital platforms amplified them. If accurate, such a structure would significantly compress personal liquidity, especially when compounded by high travel expenditures. Again, we emphasize, allegations do not equal verdicts. On stage in Bangkok, the metaphor required no footnotes. When Jackson's movements slowed, when his body drifted downward inside the red-tinged water, silence consumed the arena. The sequence ended not with triumph, but with disappearance. He sank. The screen dimmed. The audience exhaled as if released from collective tension. Art often mirrors life. Sometimes it interrogates it. The question circulating afterward was not whether the performance was intentional. It clearly was. The question was whether it functioned as commentary, as warning, as solidarity. Because if Yu Mang Long's final months were defined by exhaustion, financial erosion, and escalating pressure, then the image of a man trapped inside transparent walls felt less abstract. Transparent systems can still suffocate. And if the tour was never meant to make money, then what exactly was it designed to take from him? The map did not appear dramatic at first glance. It was a standard tour schedule. Dates, venues, city, netizens arranged in chronological order. Nothing about it, in isolation, implied danger. Yet, when netizens plotted the route visually, connecting each city with a line, the pattern shifted from routine to unsettling. Instead of forming a circular loop, the path cut across provinces in abrupt angles. It moved from the northeast down towards central regions, then veered eastward only to reverse direction again. The lines overlapped. They crossed. They folded back upon themselves like threads pulled through fabric without intention of symmetry. Commercial touring strategy generally favors efficiency. Performers move in arcs to reduce travel fatigue, consolidate equipment transport, and stabilize revenue margins. Adjacent cities are clustered. Travel days are buffered. Recovery periods are embedded between high-output stretches. This route followed none of those principles. Arrive. 2 shows. Depart immediately. 12 cities. 24 performances. Minimal geographical logic. According to publicly archived schedules, the intervals between appearances were compressed to the point of near continuous transit. When an artist lands in a new city, logistical demands begin immediately. Stage calibration, technical rehearsal, media obligations, costume fittings, physical warm-ups, performance, post-show breakdown, travel before sunrise. Chronic repetition without restorative sleep produces measurable consequences. Medical research demonstrates that sustained sleep fragmentation impairs immune response, disrupts hormonal balance, and elevates anxiety markers. When exhaustion becomes baseline rather than exception, decision-making deteriorates. We do not claim causation. We examine structure. Financially, the implications are equally complex. Long-distance cross-provincial transport increases operational cost. Airfare, freight, accommodation, venue rental, technical staffing. When each location hosts only 2 performances, amortizing those costs becomes more difficult. Profit margins narrow. This reality prompted a second wave of speculation. Unverified reports circulating online alleged that Yu Mang Long's revenue contract allocated 90% of earnings to the management company, leaving 10% to him. Additional marketing and promotional expenses were reportedly deducted from his portion. These claims have not been formally validated in court documents accessible to the public. Yet repetition across platforms intensified scrutiny. If such a structure existed, the financial mathematics would be unforgiving. High operational expense combined with minimal retained income creates strain. Even under stable conditions, under relentless travel, the strain compounds. On November 1st, 2025, his Shanghai-based studio was officially dissolved. Public records confirm the dissolution date. The proximity to the tour's conclusion did not go unnoticed. Observers began referring to the itinerary as a death route. The phrase is dramatic. It is not a legal classification. It is a reflection of perception. 12 stops. In traditional East Asian cosmology, 12 earthly branches represent cyclical completion. Each branch marks a segment of time. A full rotation signifies closure, renewal, or termination. When netizens overlaid the 12 city lines on a digital map, the intersections resembled a web radiating outward and converging inward. Some described it as a binding formation, a structure designed not for expansion, but containment. Again, symbolism is not evidence, but symbolism shapes public interpretation. Consider the psychological dimension. When movement becomes constant, grounding disappears. Familiarity dissolves. An artist exists in transit more than in place. Without stable environment, recovery becomes theoretical. Fatigue becomes identity. Witness accounts from audience members during later performances described visible exhaustion. These accounts remain anecdotal, Yet anecdote fuels narrative when transparency is limited. We must return to the official ruling. Alcohol-related accident. No criminal wrongdoing established. Yet the map persists. The final destination was Shanghai, the same city where his studio ceased to exist as a registered entity. Coincidence is possible. Timing can align without intention, but patterns invite questions. If a tour drains physical stamina while simultaneously compressing financial autonomy, the impact extends beyond exhaustion. It destabilizes identity. Agency narrows. Options diminish. What remains then is performance, and performance, as we have seen, can resemble suffocation. The final stop was Shanghai, and the day the tour ended was the same day his financial fortress disappeared. When the official statement was released, it was brief. An alcohol-related accident. No evidence of foul play. Case closed. Legally, that should have been the end. But closure in documentation does not always translate into closure in public consciousness. Within days, comment sections began to swell. On Yu Mang Long's social media account, messages accumulated at a rate difficult to ignore. Screenshots captured in numbers surpassing 460,000 comments, before moderation reduced the visible total to approximately 410,000. The deletions did not silence the sentiment. They intensified it. Erase the comments, one user wrote. The more you delete, the harder it is for us to forget. Grief does not move in straight lines. It radiates. In the absence of transparent detail, interpretation fills the vacuum. Some netizens directed attention toward individuals within the production ecosystem. Among the names most frequently mentioned online were Tian Hong and Xin Qi. Allegations circulated. None were substantiated through formal legal charges at the time of writing. Yet repetition forged association in the public mind. Into that environment stepped an unexpected layer of analysis. Tarot. A content creator released a reading purporting to examine the symbolic fate of those perceived to hold power within the situation. The cards drawn reportedly included the Tower and Death. In tarot symbolism, the Tower signifies collapse of constructed authority. Death represents transformation through irreversible ending. We must clarify, tarot is not admissible evidence. It is cultural expression, interpretive ritual, yet its narrative power is significant, especially when institutional communication is limited. In the reading's interpretation, the empire surrounding certain figures was described as entering a phase of irreversible dismantling. Asset freezing was speculated, isolation predicted. For the screenwriter named in public discourse, the reading suggested reduction to scapegoat status within a larger hierarchy. Again, these interpretations remain symbolic. No court filings have confirmed such outcomes. But symbolism feeds collective psychology. History demonstrates a recurring pattern. When large systems experience destabilization, responsibility concentrates around an individual. The sacrificial figure absorbs collective outrage. Whether justified or misplaced, the mechanism repeats. Meanwhile, outside digital platforms, quieter gestures unfolded. A photograph circulated widely online. It depicted a modest street vendor selling triangular sticky rice cakes. On the stall, beside the food, rested a small portrait of Yu Mang Long. No dramatic signage, no political slogan, just placement. The image unsettled viewers precisely because of its simplicity. In elite circles, many remained silent. Industry colleagues who had once shared stages and press events offered minimal public commentary. Silence can signify caution. It can also signify alignment. Without explicit statements, interpretation remains but the vendor's gesture required no press release. Ordinary citizens, office workers, parents commuting between school gates, market sellers at dawn became the most vocal demographic in online spaces. Their language was not tempered. It was resolute. If conflict cannot be resolved, one widely shared comment declared, then bring it into the light. Public anger, when sustained, becomes a force of its own. It does not require institutional endorsement. It sustains itself through repetition and shared memory. In December 2025, fans in Taiwan organized a voluntary online concert in his memory. The event was not officially sanctioned by corporate management. It was community-driven. When the digital concert concluded, participants reportedly gathered to share a steaming pot of spicy mala hot pot, described as one of his favorite meals. Ritual, commemoration, continuation. From a distance, the entertainment industry appears immaculate. Transparent contracts, polished premieres, award ceremonies framed in gold lighting. From within, according to critics, power dynamics can be opaque. Revenue distribution structures, contractual leverage. Silence as currency. When Jackson Wang sank inside that luminous tank in Bangkok, the metaphor crystallized for many observers. From the outside, the water looked clear. From the inside, movement became struggle. We return, then, to restraint. Authorities concluded the death was accidental. No criminal conviction has overturned that determination. The map of 12 cities does not constitute legal proof. Tarot cards do not determine liability. Public anger does not equal indictment. Yet unanswered questions persist. Why did the route disregard efficiency? Why did financial rumors proliferate so rapidly? Why did dissolution coincide so precisely with completion? Perhaps coincidence. Perhaps mismanagement. Perhaps structural imbalance. Or perhaps something more systemic that transcends any single individual. From the outside, the tank looks transparent. But inside, the water has always been deeper than anyone dared to measure. The record states that the cause of death was alcohol-related. The file is stamped. The case is archived. From a procedural standpoint, the narrative is complete. Yet history has demonstrated that closure and paperwork does not always silence inquiry. We have examined 3 layers. First, the performance. In Bangkok, Jackson Wang descended into a luminous tank, striking at invisible walls as red diffused through simulated water. It was art. It was choreography. It was spectacle. But for many viewers, it felt like commentary on entrapment inside transparent systems that offer visibility without escape. Second, the route. 12 cities. A zigzagging path that resisted commercial efficiency. Arrival without recovery. Performance without restoration. The final stop in Shanghai, aligning with the dissolution of Yu Mang Long's studio on November 1st, 2025. Official records confirm the dissolution. They do not confirm intent, but the pattern remains mapped. Third, the financial discourse. Allegations of disproportionate revenue. Rumors of unpaid wages totaling $25 million US. These figures remain unverified in publicly accessible court rulings. We state them not as verdict, but as context for public reaction. Financial opacity breeds suspicion. Suspicion fuels narrative. And then there is silence. Colleagues cautious in public. Corporations measured in statement. Comment sections swelling beyond 460,000 before moderation intervened. Ordinary citizens placing a portrait on a food stall. Fans organizing a memorial concert across digital borders. If silence protects power, then memory becomes resistance. We must remain disciplined. No court has overturned the official ruling. No criminal conviction has established coordinated harm. Speculation cannot substitute for evidence. Tarot symbolism cannot replace judicial process. A map cannot testify. But collective memory is not bound by legal closure. When large systems face scrutiny, individuals often absorb the impact. Sometimes they are guilty. Sometimes they are convenient. History is filled with both outcomes. What distinguishes them is transparency. The entertainment industry thrives on controlled narratives, carefully edited interviews, contractual confidentiality, brand preservation. From the outside, it appears seamless, crystal clear, aspirational. Inside, the mechanisms are rarely visible. Perhaps the 12-city route was miscalculated. Perhaps financial management was flawed but not malicious. Perhaps exhaustion met vulnerability at an unfortunate intersection. Or perhaps there are dimensions the public has yet to see. We do not accuse. We do not absolve. We observe. Because when an artist sinks beneath illuminated water and another's career collapses along a path drawn across 12 cities, the imagery converges into something difficult to ignore. The autopsy may close a file, but a map remains. And as long as that map exists in public memory, the questions will not drown. As long as the map exists, the story cannot drown.